Ladies and gentlemen, I take pride in introducing the greatest show on earth.
Welcome to the Uncle Floyd podcast. My name is Scott Gordon. Uncle Floyd Vivino and I join up for this podcast to discuss our time with the Uncle Floyd Show, music, theater, nightclubs, carnivals, circus, amusement parks, burlesque, and all things showbiz from our combined industry experience of over 120 years through the past 7 decades. We also answer questions that are emailed to ufpodcast@sge-inc.com. You will find that address and a link to support this podcast in the episode description. Join Uncle Floyd and me, Scott Gordon, now for this episode of the Uncle Floyd Podcast. Hi, everyone, and welcome to Uncle Floyd Podcast number 12. This is Scott Gordon. Due to me having developed one of those winter colds that we all get, I decided not to go and see Uncle Floyd this week. With his healing and physical therapy, I didn't want to give him any extra stress or something that might interrupt his progress. And since I just have to walk downstairs into my studio, I figured this would be a good chance to answer a question that at least 15 of you have asked. Uncle Floyd is mentioned many times when he's asked, who is the most loyal to the Uncle Floyd Show? His answer has always been me, Scott Gordon. This has caused a lot of you to ask me, why does Floyd say that? Or what makes you so loyal to the show, and why have you never left it when other cast members have come and gone for either other opportunities or just getting tired of it? This is not a short answer, and only about 5 people know the answer to this question. To answer it properly, I've got to tell you a bit of a backstory. After high school, I went into the Navy during the Vietnam era, and when I was discharged from the Navy, I studied science, which I'd always been interested in. I attended Newark College of Engineering, which is now called New Jersey Institute of Technology. Then I got a job in plastics research, while also performing guitar in several bands. I'd always been a performer. I'd been doing magic since I was 7 years old. At the end of 1970, one of my coworkers asked me, with my background in performing magic since childhood, if I could help him with a little theater group in the production of Bell Book and Candle that they were going to present. They needed a lighting designer and special effects guy for the play. This sounded like fun to me, so I decided, what the heck, I'll go ahead and do it. The friend of mine was the male lead of the show, and the female lead was a woman named Diane. I thought she was very standoffish, and I wasn't sure if I liked her that much. The show was a great success, and it got a lot of great reviews in local newspapers, including some nice comments about my lighting design. I stayed with the theater group, known as the Joe Jefferson Players, and grew to know Diane as a really great but very shy person. We started to date. In 1972, I was offered the opportunity to become the manager of a youth coffee house in Allendale, New Jersey, that was open 2 nights a week. This would give me a chance to do my lighting and sound design work, along with being able to perform the folk music that I love so much. Diane became my helper and the co-manager of the coffee house. I was doing all of this while still working in the plastics research facility. Diane and I got married in November of 1973. Just before our wedding, I was diagnosed with extreme overactive thyroid. This was causing my resting heart rate to be approximately 120 beats per minute, rather than the normal 60 to 70 beats per minute. This resulted in me being admitted for surgery 2 weeks after our wedding to have my thyroid removed. On the operating table, my heart stopped for 4 minutes. The doctors revived me. During the prolonged illness that I had, the plastics research facility decided it should fire me for being out sick too much. This led to several months of unemployment. Since I'd been having so much fun performing, I decided to try my luck as a full-time performer. One of the things I knew was magic, so I decided to dedicate myself to that. Through networking and traveling around to different magic shows and magic shops, I got to meet Ken Noble, the owner of Ken's Magic Shop in Fair Lawn, New Jersey. He needed a full-time manager, and with my abilities, I got the job. In the spring of 1974, the theater group decided that since one of the members was an experienced Shakespearean director from England named Harry Grant, they would enter the North Jersey Little Theater League's Shakespearean competition for that year. I auditioned for and got the lead part in the production of Richard III. This resulted in us getting the second place award that year. Around the time of Diane and my first anniversary, the stresses of running the youth coffee house were taking a toll on our marriage. We decided at that time to turn the reins of the coffee house over to others and to concentrate on our relationship. At the time, I was at Ken's Magic Shop, and I got to know all the magicians in the area. On the first weekend in October of 1976 at a barbecue, a magician by the name of Al Cavallero invited me to come down to the taping of the television show he was working on. So, on October 5th, 1976, I went down to West Orange, New Jersey, to a little yellow and brown house at 416 Eagle Rock Avenue. There I walked into the front room and watched the taping of several episodes of a program called The Uncle Floyd Show. Al introduced me to the host and star of the show, Uncle Floyd Vivino. Floyd shook my hand and said to me, "Hey, you look funny with that beard. Can you do a sketch?" Of course, I said I could. He said, "Great, bring some kind of costume down next week and we'll work something out." So the next Tuesday, October 12th, 1976, which happened to be my 27th birthday, I brought a toga and a laurel wreath down to the studio. That was the first appearance I made on the show as a hack Shakespearean actor named Sir John Watercress. Floyd loved the character and my performance. That is when he asked me to join the cast of the show. After doing the show for a month on November 10th, 1976, my wife Diane and I were out for our third anniversary celebration. At that time, I told her that doing this silly little TV show was an interesting thing for me. She had always known me as a performer, musician, and general nutbag, but she was more grounded in reality than I was. She asked me to set a time limit for doing the show so it would not take over the way the coffee house did. At that time, I told her I would give it 3 years on my 30th birthday. If there was no sign that I should continue with the show at that time, I would quit. Now let's fast forward a little bit. 3 years of fun and laughs have passed by with the Uncle Floyd Show. We had done a lot of shows on television, 5 a week for 3 years, and quite a few live performances. But it was still not making much money or getting wide notoriety. During this time, the way I used to create my characters was to go and sit in one of the local shopping malls and watch people. I found that people in their behavior were quite humorous and quite real and worthy of characterization. On Wednesday, October 10th, 1979, 2 days before my 30th birthday, I was sitting on a bench in the Garden State Plaza watching people in hope of creating a new character. At the same time, I was considering the fact that the next taping date may be my last with the Uncle Floyd Show, because I had not been inspired to continue, and I knew I would have to keep my promise to Diane. While sitting there, contemplating my future, a woman walked up to me and said, "Excuse me, are you Scott Gordon?" I answered yes. She said, "Would you mind if I sat down?" I said, "Not at all, please do." The woman told me her name and asked if I could spare a few minutes. I agreed. And I'm going to try and remember just about everything she said to me. "I just wanted you to know how wonderful you and the Uncle Floyd Show are. Around a year ago, my husband took my son to a basketball game at Madison Square Garden. As they left and walked around the back of the building, they were approached. In front of my son, 2 men mugged and murdered my husband. My son, who was 11 years old at the time, went into shock. he became catatonic. He was taken to the hospital where he just lay in bed, did not move, and did not speak. He was not functional at all. The doctors did everything they could think of, and I visited him every day. For nearly 10 months this continued. I tried everything, reading to him, talking to him, playing every type of music on the radio. Eventually, I put the TV on and tried every channel possible. Every day I was switched to a different show. One day, somehow I tuned to channel 68. On the screen, you and Uncle Floyd were doing something with a stuffed animal. My son moved. I found out that your show is on every day, so I came every day and put your show on. After a week, he started to laugh. After a month, he started to talk again. So I promised myself if I ever met you or Uncle Floyd, I would have to thank you for saving my son's life. She then stood up and with tears in her eyes said thank you and kissed me on the cheek. She walked away. That was when I decided that however long the Uncle Floyd Show existed in the minds of the public, I would be part of it. We'll see you next time for podcast number 13. And now our carefully pre-recorded outro.
Tuesday at 8, we have a date.
Tuesday at 8, we have a date for This Was the Uncle Floyd Show. And keep your eye on the podcast subscription, and you'll know when the next one of these comes up. They'll let you know. And if you want to tell your friends how to get here, just tell them to go to unclefloyd.podbean.com. That's PODBEAN.com. And if you want to send us an email with a question, just send it to ufpodcast@sge-inc.com. And it gets right to me, and I bring it over here, read to Floyd. We answer your questions about the show or anything about show business. Any part of show business, we'll be glad to answer.
Very good.
All right. So, see everybody next time.
At Tuesday, we have a date.
This program was produced in the studios of Scott Gordon Enterprises, Incorporated in Paramus, New Jersey.